Hello, everyone. Habari Ghani. Habari Ghani, and your response to me is Nia, because tonight's Ngozo Saba principle is Nia, or purpose. And so we're going to be joined in just a few minutes by some phenomenal scholars. And so, what I want you guys to do just right now is just like, comment, and share. Come in, greet us, Habari Ghani. Tell us where you're coming in from, and I'm going to go to my page and make sure it's being shared and all that good stuff. So again, Habari Ghani, welcome to the fifth night of our Kwanzaa celebration. That's a guess, y'all, calling me in the middle of the live. So like, comment, and share. Welcome again, Auntie Dot. Habari Ghani. Oh, Nia. You said Habari Ghani, so I must say Nia Habari Ghani. All right, it's purpose tonight, guys. It is purpose tonight. Can you all see everything? You guys can see me. Everything is working well. Looks a little different on my Facebook tonight, but maybe it's me. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes and then we're going to get to talking. Again, we have been celebrating the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, the Ngozo Saba. We started with Umoja, right? Unity. First one, the most important. We then moved into Kujichagulia, which is self-determination, right? So important, self-determination. From self-determination, we went to Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. Last night, we had Ujama, and that one is cooperative economics. And tonight, we have Nia, which is purpose. So we're going to have some phenomenal guests that are going to come on and talk with us about this in just a moment. I cannot wait. One more minute. 8:05. I'm going to bring up our guests and we're going to get to having this conversation. I'm sharing, guys. I'm sharing. I'm like, commenting, and sharing. Doing what I told you all to do as well. Sharing to all these groups. All right, 8:05, guys. We're going to get started. And so, again, I'm going to bring up my guests and then we're going to start having some conversation. Oh, I've been slipping on the comments. Okay, that's just Auntie Dot inviting everyone in. So, I'm going to bring up my guests, right? Okay, here we go, guys. Oh, now I'm tired. It's day 5. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been quite enlightening, however, right? And so we're going to get started with Kwanzaa Celebration Day 5, Virtual Celebration Day 5. This is our third annual. I am Dr. Melissa Chester, founder and CEO of Black Educators Rock, Inc. We are a national member nonprofit, so much more than a Facebook group. We host annual professional development conferences every summer, getting educators excited about the upcoming school year. We have three areas of focus: professional knowledge, instructional strategies and practices, and advocacy and empowerment. And everything we do falls into one of those areas of focus. We are getting ready for our 10th annual Rock Conference that will happen in the summer of 2025, July 17th through the 20th. Y'all, we went to Houston, Texas. We had such a great time in Houston, Texas that the participants said they wanted to go back. It was going to be out of Chicago and Houston, and they wanted Houston again because Houston was everything. And so we're actually doing a repeat of that city in July of 2025. And so I'm joined tonight by some of my fellow Black Educators Rock presenters and speakers. They all have their own powerful entities that they run as well. And so we have Principal James Presley, who I think again has been with me the longest out of this crew. I think so. Yes, he was. Yes, because he was the recipient of my very first Black Educators Rock Award that I named after my mentor who passed away, Dr. Joseph P. Ramsey, the Cornerstone Award. And so Cornerstone Award, he was the first recipient of that award. And so Mr. James Presley, we have Mr. Emmanuel Curtis, who I've known the least amount of time. We have Dr. Terrell Strayhorn, who I think is second to Principal Presley. Nope, he comes after Hotep. Hotep came before Principal. For you, Hotep. So it's Principal Presley, Hotep, Dr. Strayhorn, and then Emmanuel. Emmanuel and I had the privilege of meeting. He came to the conference last year. And so he was a fan and he'll be back. And so these gentlemen all are powerhouses in their own regard. And so we're going to allow them to introduce themselves and tell us who they are and what they do in their daytime and nighttime and passion time. And then we're going to have a conversation about Kwanzaa. And so we're going to start with you, Principal James Presley.
Habari Gani.
Nia Habari Gani.
Absolutely. Blessings to everyone. Definitely to Dr. Chester for this moment, this week. The last 3 years have been incredible, but this week has been amazing. So I am so honored to be here tonight to learn and to share, have a conversation about purpose, and see where we go tonight. A little bit about me. My name is James Presley. Principal Presley is just my little title that I've adopted. I named myself that after joining Black Educators Rock. I am in my 30th year in education. I have served in almost every capacity at the school level. I've been blessed to do this work that I'm doing in my hometown and in my home district where I was reared by my mother, the late Dolores Presley, who raised 7 children. I'm the second oldest, off of $2.15 an hour as a waitress, and a promise to her children that we were not going to remain on welfare and food stamps. So my work ethic comes from watching her work to get us off of government assistance. I hail from the state of Florida. We always say here in Florida, God lives in Florida and he visits the other states because he loves the weather here. We just are excited to be on this platform tonight. 27 of my 30 years have been again in my hometown area. I've been blessed to serve in a lot of capacities. I've also always have had a desire to assist individuals, adults and young adults and children in finding purpose. So I'm honored to be here tonight to speak on that. I serve as the first vice president of our local NAACP branch here in Sumter County. Also a member and presenter of BER, as Dr. Chester mentioned. Love the vision, connected with the vision. I missed the first conference, but I was doing a little work out in the field. And 3 years later, I was contacted and I've been connected ever since. I'm a presenter and member of the National Alternative Education Association. My passion is restoration of those that have been broken by broken systems. My work is systematic, even though I'm within the system. My work is systematic. I know how to move within systems. I collaborate within system to ask tough questions. Um, this work that I do is grinding for those that not only need a voice, but desire a voice. Non-traditional students need non-traditional educational practices that meet their non-traditional needs, and those needs are a plethora of needs. And hopefully, we'll get into that a little bit tonight. But um, last year, I was honored to be chosen as our district's principal of the year, and our district in Florida is ranked one of the top 5 districts in the state. So to receive that honor as a principal of an alternative school, I believe spoke volumes to the work that me and my team are doing to restore those who have been broken. And it's an honor to be here, and blessings to these great men and Dr. Chester for this opportunity.
Thank you, Principal Presley. Hotep enjoyed us so much the other night. He asked could he come back, y'all. He said he had some more to say. So he's back to say more. Hotep, I'm going.
Doc, I always got something to say now. Now, whether or not people listen is something else. But good evening, all. Dr. Chester, thank you for convening this great occasion. Habari Gani, everyone. Happy Kwanzaa, happy holidays, and happy early New Year to all of you. In fact, now, not happy New Year, happy Year to all of you, because that's just part of our thing. We believe that every year is your year and have it your way. That being said, my name is Hotep. For those who don't know, Hotep is I'm named after Imhotep, the builder of the first pyramids. Hotep means peace for anyone that's got it twisted in today's young people that have been inundated with an incorrect and erroneous positioning of that term. I've been in education close to 27 years now. It's hard to say. It's hard to imagine it's been that long. I currently run a consulting firm, Make a Way Consulting, because that's what we do. If you can't find a way, we help you make a way. Helping schools implement easy to implement simple interventions to turn their schools around and create a positive organizational climate and culture. That's our specialty. We all know and like to talk a lot about the trauma and the hurt and such. Yeah, it's true that hurt people, but let's flip that around, because the truth of the matter is also when people feel good, they do good. And if you focus in that spirit, you can transform and create an environment where people thrive. And so that's the work that I've been doing. You see behind me an image of my new anime brand. I created a family-friendly anime brand. Because I'm a father of a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I wanted to ensure that there was something positive for them to see that was appropriate for young eyes to view, and something that encompassed our culture within that space of anime and manga. So I have that animated series, graphic novels, kids books, and a whole slew of other IP that I developed. And I'm proud to say that my cartoon is on a network called Black Education Station, which all of us as educators should be familiar with. Black Education Station is just like Netflix and Disney, not on YouTube. It's its own ecosystem. It's a big deal. And I'm proud to be associated with that. And proud that Dr. Chester has decided to join us on this mission to let the world know we don't have to wait for Disney and PBS to do it for us. We can do it ourselves, and it's been done. So thank you all for being here and allowing me to speak again.
Thank you, Hotep. Dr. Terrell Strayhorn.
Good evening to everyone. Hopefully you can hear me, Habari Gani, and looking forward to tonight's discussion. I'll get in the way and out of the way so we can get into the conversation, but I am Terrell Strayhorn, professor of education and psychology at Virginia Union University. where I also serve as Director of Research for the Center for the Study of Historically Black Colleges and Universities and run a consulting firm called Do Good Work. Consulting and primarily with Do Good Work, I think both the work I do as a professor, as a scholar, as a speaker, as a consultant really relates to the purpose of tonight. When Dr. Chester reached out, I said, yes, put me in, coach. But didn't pick a night. I just said wherever you see fit and where's needed. And so I'm particularly thoughtful tonight about the fact that I get to join these good brothers on the platform tonight and to talk about purpose, because purpose is something that, this past semester I was teaching a class called Positive Psychology. And most of my students thought purpose is an individual pursuit.
Mm.
It's all about what I want to do. What's my purpose in life? And I see lots of nods. So I won't go too far, but to say that purpose does have a collective dimension to it. And it's actually reflected in the spirit of my answer back to Dr. Chester about being a part of this series, that wherever I'm needed, where is my voice needed? Where can my talents and my gifts make an impact collectively? And I think we have a challenge in society with a lot of people thinking about purpose from an individual perspective, not so much from the group and the collective. Even those from collectivist societies and collectivist backgrounds have started to operate in ways that are very, very individual with unfettered competition. But the future of our society, the future of our community, the future of the world really depends on us balancing that. And so I think, right, here at the end of the year, what a great night to come together and talk about this, and looking forward to the conversation. Thanks, Dr. Chester.
Thank you, Dr. Strayhorn. Last and certainly not least, Emmanuel Curtis.
Peace to everyone. Emmanuel Curtis, Lima, Ohio. Just grateful to be on. I'm on a little break and breather. But again, like you said, Dr. Strayhorn, Dr. Chester calls, you do whatever you can to make sure you can oblige. I'm learning. But no, I really appreciate this because, again, I either am fans of those of you I know and become fans listening to you already and learning your work and how similar we are in our approach in the work. I am employed in our school district. I facilitate a program on the middle school level for boys primarily. We have boys and girls, and it's a program that we start fourth grade all the way up through pretty much sophomore high school. And it's the unique part about that. It's a program that I initiated and was able to help get support from our school district to bring it to our system. And it's been in 18 years now. 18 years now. And that's just community collaborative work. I was working in the community. I was able to be a part of a program, had solid relationships, and we brought that to life, and they adopted it after 2 years of the grant funding, and it's been going well. I coach, head girls track coach in our school district, 25 years of that. I've had a lot of success. And again, speaking on the collective purpose deals about reaching back, I get to coach with one of my best friends, one of my first friends. We took different paths, not in a negative way, but just took different roads and was able to come back together after about 10 years or so of not really seeing each other. And we've been doing some really great things within our track program and whatnot. I'm not going to go into all of that. And then I run a nonprofit called Jackman Corporation, and it's in collaboration with some strong ally support, and mostly my team and my road dog, my homegirl, Dr. Andrea Geis, that I don't do much of anything without. But we have a strong team and some young brothers who contribute. Dr. Chester, you got to meet most of them.
Yes.
And I'm just blessed and fortunate to be able to just, I guess, be in the role of realizing, again, like we say, we're the adults now. And so really serving in my community and being a part of growth in my community in some way, addressing the elephant in the room is what I always say. I take a lot of pride in doing the things other people are talking about. They can have the meetings, but, we got to get the grassroots. And that's what I'm good at. So, again, I'm looking forward to learning from all of you, contributing where I can. And if I have to get out early, excuse me, I'm in the library, but we'll make it work.
Thank you, Emmanuel. So he's in Lima, as in Lima Bean, y'all, Lima, Ohio, doing some phenomenal work. I had an opportunity to go out there and do a presentation, do some speaking, because he also puts on a conference. He's come to my conference. And so, yes, doing this good work. These gentlemen, y'all know how I love strong Black men. Y'all know I say it all the time. And so, unapologetic that I have 4 more tonight. Listen, there are Black men out here doing this work. They are doing this work. They are leading, and it is an honor and privilege to lead beside them and behind them. And so, thank you all for always answering my call, for always standing in the gap for me, for always supporting the Rock Conference. I appreciate each and every one of you individually and collectively. And with that being said, guys, we're going to get into this Kwanzaa conversation. So, what we've been learning, some for some of us is an introduction. For some of us, it may be recentering. It may be getting more familiar. So, growing in our knowledge of Kwanzaa. And so, what we have learned, is that many Blacks don't participate in Kwanzaa because they have erroneously assumed that it had to do with religion. And we all now know that it is not a religious holiday. It is a secular holiday that starts the day after Christmas, but it does have biblical principles that can be tied to it based on some of those principles that we know and discussed previously. And so, like we said, it's a 7-day celebration. The celebration is really about recentering, reflecting about what have I done this year as it relates to Kwanzaa, and then getting prepared for the upcoming year. Because as we all have established with the Rock Conference, Black Educators Rock, those of us listening, Kwanzaa is supposed to be 365 days a year. It is not just to be done these 7 days and then put back in the closet on the shelf and then brought back out to be done again at the end of next year. It is something that is supposed to be implemented, that is supposed to be reoccurring all throughout your being. And if it is, then we're going to see that evident in your personal, professional lives, as well as in the community that you serve. If you are truly not just saying you love these principles, you abide by these principles, but you're going to be showing it as well. And so we're going to get into the conversation a little bit. And so want to first ask you guys, so we've had 5, this is the 5th one. I'm going to ask each of you to tell me what is your first most favorite principle, and then watching the last 4 nights, what has resounded with you? Like, what if it's something different than your principle? And so I'm going to start with you, Emmanuel, since you went last the first time. I'm starting with you. So what is your favorite principles of all the 7?
I will say right now, I mean, Ujima, the with the house project we got going on right now in my city, and I'm not trying to gloat the work, but I really want you to understand, like, the people that's come to the front to really help us out. I mean, we have the head of our trade union, I think the assistant director of our trade union that's come in. I mean, getting a free HVAC system and donated and having apprentices come in and putting in the work. Got brothers in the community who are contractors that's even speaking for us and getting us, a lot of help and assistance for the things that we need. Having the house outside of that house project done with the strong work of Brian Miller, who also took to this initiative so well that he joined our team, and he's going to be over the trade component of what we do moving forward, at least through the next year. So it's just really about that, and seeing how when you're from your community and being committed to what you're doing, that those ones that you had as friends, associates, or just in the neighborhood, when we grow up, they see what you're doing and they reach out to help. And so right now, that's been probably one that's been near and dear to my heart. And through our corporation, we use the principles of Ngozo Saba to name each initiative, and we've done, I think, 2 now, and we got another one that we're hoping to get some funding for that we're going to call Harambe. But yeah, Ujima is pretty significant to me right now, and I haven't, like I said, made any of the other calls, but I know they were full of information, and I'm definitely going to catch up on all of them.
Well, with you, Jamal, because you said this house that you're building is a house for what?
what we hope is to make it a community safe house. So what it is in our community, it's around the corner from where I grew up at. So it's in the same neighborhood I grew up in, and it's just about trying to find a way to be a resource hub for people in our community. They don't have either a medical center or any type of resource, one-stop shop family center within walking distance per se. So for us to be a hub that we could do those types of things, wellness checks and putting information out, information for employment and being a safe house for even some immediate crisis situations. Because again, you have so many people in a small community like ours that have so much knowledge and experience. We know this is like at the back of our hands, but all we do after we get done working is go home. And so if you could commit an hour or two and just be available, you never know who may come up to that door, and you may save a life that day just because of some simple knowledge. So that's what we hope. It's been a beautiful transformation. We've stopped sharing as much, unless you're riding by, but it's just something our community needs. And again, it's just an example of doing the work that people are talking about and not making an excuse for it. And I'm just blessed that so many people have stepped up to be a part of this project.
Thank you so much. So he said, Ujima guys, collective work and responsibility, because that's what he's doing there. He's implementing currently in Lima, Ohio. So thank you, Emmanuel, for that answer. I'm going to go to you next, Dr. Strayhorn. Favorite principle?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, so we can cover all 7. I'll stick with tonight, purpose. I mean, Ujima, for the work I do around belonging, a lot of that has to do with or connects with a lot of the principles of Kwanzaa. There's a part of it that really focuses on, the collective work we all have to do, this sense of responsibility, although people don't typically understand it that way. But, I think one of the things I am most reflective about these days, especially in my work with youth of any age, I mean, I'm talking mostly about, I'll even say 25 and under, 22 and under, let's just say 22 and under, is, this sort of loss of, and this state of, hopelessness, this state of senselessness. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I can fill the air with a lot of words like, oh man, I got all these, man, I got these big dreams, man. I can't even tell you about my big dreams. My dreams so big, they're so big, but there's no foundation under them. And that, and there's also some reality to that. I mean, I was working with a mentoring program in Houston, Texas, just recently, and met with about 18 African-American guys. First of all, out of the 18 of them, over half of them said they want to be professional ball players, most of them football players. Now, interestingly enough, this is not to shame anyone, but one of the guys who was the most outspoken, the most, he's that character in the room. He's actually quite the leader because he has social influence like no other. If he misbehaves, everybody misbehaves. If he straightens up, everybody straightens up. He wants to be a quarterback for the Texans. So I said to him, name uncalled, do you play football now? He said, yes. I said, what's your record? He said 4-9. 1-4, lost 9, but wants to be a professional football player. And the question becomes, first you got to practice, you got to work on that. That record won't get you there. But who amongst the elders being anyone 19 and older, right, at this point, will have the conversation with him that, he'll need some other alternatives, or he'll need to put together some more than just, sound bites, but a strategy, a plan, a spirit of responsibility. He may need support. He may need counseling. He may need tutoring. He may need whatever. There's a lot of work that will probably go into that being. And I think this whole sense of like, all of them answered very quickly, what do you want to be when you grow up? And very few of them had this sense that they thought about, what are my gifts? What are my talents? what's the problem in the world that my gifts and talents can rise up to meet?
Well, we know why that is, Dr. Strayhorn, because that's something we've been talking about. Like I don't know, a couple of nights ago I was on now mentioned, like when I go talk to middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I hear adults talking to them, everyone's, telling them how horrible they are and but no one is acknowledging the fact that if they are that lost, we play a part in that. Our generation, the generation before us,
Absolutely.
because the two generations are who taught us, right? So that we had balance. And so we do have some work to do. But the great thing is people like you, people like Emmanuel, people like Hotep, and people like Dr. Presley are pressing on, right?
Right.
We are doing that work and going to continue to. But guys, listen to what he's saying, and that's about purpose, right? Purpose. And so he chose purpose. We had Ujima, and we had purpose. And so gonna go to you next, Principal Presley, your favorite principle.
I'm going to stay right there. I'm going to say purpose. I'm going to say purpose because purpose, oftentimes we confuse our dreams with our purpose. Our dreams is for us, but our purpose is for us and others. And a lot of times, even with the young adults that I'm dealing with and working with, it's the restorative piece of purpose that attracts me to it. Restoring those to their greatness. Every morning before we start a school day, my voice is on the announcements for two reasons. Number one, to set the mood. Number two, to encourage those that might need encouragement. So I really like purpose because purpose has the ability to give us the answer to the question why. Like, why am I here? What am I here for? What am I called to do? Purpose is a divine assignment, and it is the pursuit of God's will and God's way. Oftentimes, when we think about purpose, a lot of times we pursue it in the arena of trying to find out what is God's will without trying to find out what is his way. How does he want us to do a thing? So with me, even in this assignment tonight, when I received the invitation and you gave me 2 nights, I didn't know tonight was going to be purpose. In fact, I committed to tonight. And then I said, oh my God, I better find out what we're going to be discussing tonight. And when I saw the word purpose, I said, this is divine, because purpose, without purpose, we are nothing. We are absolutely nothing. We are spinning our wheels. We are trying to accomplish things that may not even be his will for our lives. It gives life meaning. And the thing that I love about it, and I'll leave it with this for now, is that it evolves, it enlarges, and it expands. And it's so beautiful the way that it's done, to the degree that when you hit the lane and you know you are in your lane and you know you're in his will and you know you're trying to discover his way, it's a beautiful thing, because you're going to need someone else to accomplish the purpose that God has designed for your life. So I love purpose.
Wow. And so, guys, purpose, a commitment to the collective vocation of building, developing, and defending our community, its culture, and history in order to regain our historical initiative and greatness, right? That is what we mean by purpose. And we heard others talking about that collective, right, vocation of building. Purpose is the underlying reason that drives our actions, the guiding principle that gives our lives direction and meaning. That's what we're talking about tonight, is purpose. And so 2 of our panelists chose purpose. And so we're going to go to you, Hotep, your favorite principle thus far. Or just your favorite of all.
Yeah, my favorite of all is Kuji Chagalia, without question. And anyone that speaks to the point of self-determination and speaking my language, I find it just as needed as all the others that were mentioned. Personally, for me, in the space that I operate, what I've come to observe is that people don't know how powerful they really are. You understand? Like, because of because of the isms in our world, and including some of the religions that we have, it actually diminishes human capacity and confidence and belief in oneself. And as a result, we subject ourselves and allow ourselves to be subjected to certain conditions that persist in our communities. And I really wish that humans knew how powerful they were, man. Oh my goodness. And I have to spend great time at length when I do my trainings to speak about the difference between pity and empathy. And all too often in our schools, we have well-meaning educators that want to be empathetic to young people, the poor and the minority and the marginalized, but they see them through the lens of pity. And what that pity does is help continue a condition known as learned helplessness. And that's where a lot of us suffer from right now, is this helplessness that we have learned. And the insidious nature of it is the fact that we learn helplessness through well-meaning people. Some of the most well-meaning and well-intentioned people actually teach helplessness because they see us through the lens of pity. And so I spend great time having to help people see themselves as part of that, challenge people to see themselves as part of that problem and also part of that solution, and challenge them to stop speaking pity and learn to speak power. And that's the reason why I'm here again today, to encourage people to speak power. Yes, they might be poor, but they're powerful. Yes, they might be marginalized, but they're powerful. Yes, there's isms and all these things that are, challenging in the world, but we're powerful. And when you speak power, you understand that, yes, there's a lot of things we don't have, but not having is no excuse for not getting. We have the power to get it. We have the responsibility to get it. We have the resources to get it. And so that's the reason why any opportunity I have to speak, I will speak from that lens of self-determination, to remind us that whatever it is that we're seeking in the world, the answer is not the government. The answer isn't the police. The answer is not outside of us. The answer always resides within us. And once we understand that and tap into that God power that rests within, the world is ours. I'll finish with that one.
Listen, you guys remember last night, you remember last night's conversation, Principal Presley, and you see how it just builds on that, because last night we had some brothers on here who are doing the work. I mean, they're doing the work. They're doing the work on the levels that, many of us, we talk this talk, but do we really walk this walk? We're talking about people who are helping political prisoners, people who are independent journalists, right? He's an independent journalist because he said he don't want to be controlled. We had someone who was helping Black Panther prisoners who have been in prison 50-something years, 30-something years, 40-something, get out, right? I mean, we had some powerful people on here last night talking about, just what we're talking about, this collective, what the true meaning of purpose is. What the true meaning of purpose is a commitment to the collective vocation. And so what Hotep is talking about is, once we individually realize our power, we can get to the collective vocation of building, developing, and defending our community, its culture and history, in order to regain our historical initiative and greatness, because we are great. We just, for some reason, have forgotten that. We've allowed people to name us. I too like Coochie Chocolate because it is self-determination to name oneself, define oneself, right? Because you're going to need that self-determination when, and pull on your faith and some other things, but that determination is undergirded by those other principles, right? And it's because you have unity of self, and different things is why that self-determination is so, so important. And so I truly hope you guys are really, really, again, like absorbing and truly, truly like letting this get deep into your spirit, let it be embedded into who you are, because this is who we are as people. And until we wake up and realize it, it is not going to get better. We've seen those examples for centuries and decades that it does not get better waiting on someone else to make it better. We each must do our part to make our communities better, right? We should always come into spaces and places, leaving them better than we found them. As Principal Presley so aptly put it, right? Purpose. It evolves, it expands, and it enlarges. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, those are going to be the results of the work that you're doing. And so, thank you guys so much for answering that question. I felt like, I don't know, Dr. Strayhorn, like you had something you wanted to add to that. Was I right?
Sure. The conversation's on fire. Why not? Uh, the last point that you just quoted from Principal Presley is powerful. I mean, again, purpose is arguably one of the most misunderstood concepts, especially nowadays, that people often approach it. And I'm going to paraphrase something that Principal Presley said, trying to understand the will for their life. What am I supposed to do? What um am I, what's the sort of change I'm going to create in the world? What's my vocation? What's my job? What school will I go to? Without really understanding, thinking about, and giving just as much attention to the way. The way is the methodology to get there, the path, the strategy. And for those of us who are, believers of faith, walks and talks, we rely on those systems to help organize and animate our life. And there are other ways of pursuing that understanding, but there are far too many who just approach purpose as if it is, something you draw out of a box, or nowadays something you ask Chat GPT or you put on social media. It's not really that. Purpose really is embedded in our dreams. Our dreams are so powerful, but the real magic of our dreams are not just in having them. It's when those dreams really align with our community's needs. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself to get to MLK, but what made MLK's dream powerful is not the fact he had it, but it's the directionality of that dream that was always aligning with the needs of other people. And so when people start, asking questions about vocation, what I'm supposed to do, what kind of impact will I make in the world? Impact really is about purpose. That part of what we're trying to figure out is what impact or change rather can I make in the world. And I know a lot of young people that I was talking about the other week, they kept talking about legacy. I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy. And I kept telling them, legacy is not built in isolation. It's crafted
That's
really
good.
in the work that we do today for the people who will be here tomorrow. It's what turns a simple moment into a powerful movement. But it is embedded in a strategy, a plan. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to do these kinds of things. You have to ask yourself, what is my real impact? And that impact is not built on titles and accolades. It's not about the number of degrees behind your name. It's not about the number of degrees that are on your wall. It really challenges us to ask, like, what are my actions doing to help people really thrive and move forward? I think those are the questions that we need to continue to ask young people. That, and I'll stop on this point. My grandmother, when she was alive, was the one who would often ask. She never asked me. I don't remember any time my grandma asking me, like, how many degrees did I want in life? How much money did I want to make in life? What size house did I want in life? And I had a great grandma, but my grandma often asked me about what was I doing for my neighbor. And she would often sing the song, heaven belongs to you. If you live right, heaven belongs to you. Treat your neighbor right. She get excited on that one, start rocking side to side. Those are the principles that I think are embedded in purpose that we need to pass on to many more of our those today.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Purpose, guys. Purpose. So we got some great chats, great comments in the chat, and that was a great one. Legacy is not built in isolation. That they wanted to make sure, Dr. Strayhorn, that we granted you with, that we accredited you with, because it is not built in isolation. And that's what we have to understand. I constantly say it, Principal Presley, something I say at the Rock Conference. I say it when we have these types of coalescing of scholars and we have these types of conversations. We've adopted Eurocentric values and Eurocentric ideologies and thought processes. It is contrary to our nature to not even be collective, right? And that's why we're not succeeding in great numbers, right? We're not succeeding in like the collective for the community. There are those of us who are outliers and we're doing well and we're able to, help our immediate family, but we're not getting to the collective because we're not understanding that it is all about the collective. Purpose is not just for you. Purpose is for everyone, right? Purpose is for your community. It is for the culture, right? It is for us making sure that we are again defending our history. Keenan Walker was on here the other night and they said his slogan needed to be a t-shirt. Man, just tell the truth about them Black people. Like, just tell the truth about our history. Why is that so wrong to tell the truth about our history? Like, do we understand how powerful that in itself is? That they do not want us to tell the truth about our history. The more educated we get about our history and understand that it does not begin with slavery. That is not who we are. The angrier society gets, the anger that they get, those power structures get, and then they want to take that away from us. They want us to continue to lie. We've been lying for decades. We've been saying Christopher Columbus founded America. That's the lie we all tell. We tell these lies. We tell that Thanksgiving was a friendly sitting meeting between the pilgrims and the indigenous people. Those are lies that we tell. But there is issue now that we want to tell truths about our history. There's a reason for that because, again, as Hotep said, as Dr. Chika and so many others have said, they don't want you to know how powerful we are. They don't want you to know how powerful you are. They don't want you to understand that, because if you understood that, oh my God, how mountains would move with just a mustard seed of faith, which is coming as the next principles, right? One of the next principles that's coming. Come on, guys, we got to wake up. You got to truly start reflecting and have some introspection and understand who and what you are. Why are you here? It is not just to make money. It is just not to live in a big house. It is to leave every space and place that you come into contact with better for you being there. That's purpose. What y'all say? What you say, Principal Presley?
I've learned, and I'm continuing to learn, that there's three graces that we have to have in order to really maximize purpose. But before I get there, what I want to say is that we have to learn it, live it, and leave it. Purpose has to be left behind so that someone else can walk right into it and glean from what we left. Purpose is not something that we internalize. We have to leave it so that someone else can come and glean from what we're leaving. Purpose requires three graces. The word, that definition that I'm looking at, where it says building, developing, and defending, there's three graces that a person has to have in order to really walk in purpose. And that is a grace to build, a grace to break, and a grace to block. Number one, we know what builders are. All of us on this panel and others who have graced the panel, and those that are viewing, we know what building is. We have that innate ability to build. Breaker's grace has to do with not only the ability to build, but the ability to help someone else break through, break out, break in, and whatever other break they need to get to the next level in their development. So in order to really fulfill our responsibility in purpose, we have to build, we have to break, and we have to block. We have to be able and willing to block anything or anyone that tries to stop our greatness. Those are the graces that's required in order for us to really defend, to develop, and to build purpose. It's something that over time we learn sometimes through what I call as a purpose setup. Sometimes we're set up in purpose. Things just happen and we find ourselves involved in purpose that wasn't in our playbook. We find ourselves in positions that wasn't in our playbook. We find ourselves doing things at a time where we really wanted to relax. We find ourselves taking on responsibilities that we really did not want to take on. Sometimes we just want to chill. We just want to relax. We just want to coast. But purpose will not allow the greatness in us to lie dormant. Purpose is inside of us. I believe it was Brother Hotep who said that the greatness that's within us, when we realize that greater is inside of us, it does not matter what is transpiring on the outside of us. We will not allow that greatness to just sit and lie dormant. And sometimes in this process of purpose, because it's one thing to embrace purpose, but it's another thing to really walk through the process of purpose. That's where we need others. I'm going to tell a quick story and I'll get off of this, but I was dreaming about this position in my hometown. Quite honestly, it was a principalship. It was at my alma mater. In my hometown, that position is like one of the major CEO positions in the area. So when I obtained that position, all hell broke out. Everything started looking as if it was the worst decision that I had made. And I thought, why in the world for 2 years am I going through this attack from people that I'm trying to pull into purpose? Why is it that my friends and my homeboys and my homegirls and individuals that I really want to help seem as though I was great as long as I was as an assistant principal, but as soon as I became the principal of that town and functioning in one of the most powerful positions in the area, all hell broke out. And this is what I've learned. There's a difference in purpose of a place and the place. I thought my purpose was that place. That was not my purpose. That was just a place to prepare me for the place in purpose. So once we get into a situation where purpose has set us up, I just wanted to encourage somebody on the call tonight, don't give up. It's just a setup. It's not a setback. Plow through, continue to seek his will and his way, and purpose is going to show you that you're about to break through.
Wow. Wow. Emmanuel. So purpose.
First of all, I appreciate Dr. Presley for that. I mean, he spoke to me and confirmed some things and just led me in a way that he has no idea. So I appreciate you, man.
Yes.
Sorry, Dr. Chester.
No, I wanted you to speak on purpose because you had talked about Ujima, and so purpose, and like you just said, there was some confirmation for you. So I was going to ask you purpose when he's talking about a place and the place, talking about this commitment to the collective vocation of building. How do you internalize purpose? How are you seeing it manifesting from you into your community? What are some things that are preventing you from being able to do it at a larger scale, etc.?
I just shared with someone today that I'm learning that I guess the commitment and the creativity is probably one of the things that's isolating me. So again, to what Principal Presley was just sharing, you spend so much time waiting on people and you believe in them because you see them doing work and you believe everybody's going to jump on for this collective opportunity to attack the ills in our community and really, swiftly, because again, I speak on my community. It's not hard to figure out. It just takes some committed individuals. And then when you constantly see, I guess, the difference between movement and purpose movement, you start to understand that some people are doing good things just because they get up, they do it. It may be a different agenda, mindset. It may be just for them, an ego or whatever. But then purpose movement is what I would like to think some mentors and leaders that I've had in my life, men and women, they've been able to speak life into me. Because even if they're not doing the same things that I'm on, we don't have the same vision, they understand the reason why I'm supposed to be there. So when I am a little weary and when I feel faint in my confidence and things like that, it's always a timely word to speak, like much like what he shared today. And all of you have been great, but that's the learning aspect of it, just to be able to continue to stay open and realize you don't know everything, and stay focused on that purpose, and don't deviate. So that I love the definition of the word, and in order to develop and defend, you got to have an open heart and ear too. You know,
Ooh, say that.
you need to know some things along the way. You're not prepared for everything. And so when we're talking about being purpose, that's what I like to hear. And again, I appreciate it. I know I'm gonna end up cutting off and being disconnected, but I needed that more than what I may have realized. And so, Dr. Chester, I appreciate your obedience too, to make sure I jumped on this call.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's what it's about. I always say we move in spirit. This is
no doubt.
Spirit. It's a spirit thing. It's not, it's never for me, and I get in trouble by one of my coaches, my mentors, Dr. Because I don't move as traditional as most people. I do move more organically. And it always, like you said, it always happens to me how it's supposed to. And so I think he says, darn, because of that, I can't get her to be more traditional in her preparation. But like you said, I think that was a word. There were several people said that was a word for them, right? A place versus the place. Sometimes we get, misconstrued about what that is. And so, and that was a movement. It was a word for me. Sometimes we're serving in places that we're not meant to be there the entire time. We're meant to, we're not meant to be there the entire way. We're meant to be there to help, like he said, either build, block, or build, break, or block. And we have to realize which one those are. And so you made a key point though, Emmanuel. You said, but we have to be open. You said something about developing and building and defending. For those things, you have to have open hearts. You have to be open. And that openness, again, is open to each other. So often we just, as people, we're so anti the other. And I still go back to, if you truly, truly believe in these principles and you truly, truly are walking in them, there is no way that certain things in your life wouldn't look differently. When it comes to cooperative economics, it comes to collective work and responsibility, it comes to self-determination, it comes to unity, it comes to purpose. Certain things would be evident. We would see those things, right? Right, Hotel? We would see those things evident in the work. And so
absolutely. I'm sorry, my mic was off.
Yeah. Okay, absolutely. And so going to you with that one. So when it comes to purpose and this collective defending and developing, how do you all, and this is going to be for you, how do you all think that we could get there? What could we do differently to help move the needle a little more? Last night, they were so powerful talking about like just some of the soldiers that we've lost in this fight and how they may have given up their family. They give some of them, have taken, for lack of a better term, a vow of poverty. It's not about the money for them, because it is about the betterment and the uplifting of the people. And so in that, not enough of us have that type of warrior in us anymore. And so what do you think are some of the challenges, the reasons, the issues, the distractions, variables that's preventing us from moving, more as a collective into purpose? That's for you, Hotel. Are you?
Oh, that's for me. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure that. I don't know, Doc. I really don't like to get
tell the truth.
I just don't like to get into all the problems and the ills. My thing is, in short, I feel like we make too many excuses about why we're not doing certain things. For me, the answers and the key is very simple, and so I think we overcomplicate things by inundating oursells with the isms and the traumas and all these things that are popular catchphrases and flavors of the month, but it's really not that hard. And so that's why it's hard for me to really address that, because I'm not in that space of what are the issues and what are the problems. I'm more in the space of, let's talk solutions, let's make the connection, because I don't like to pontificate. I was on that call on, was it Friday or Saturday? And just from that, me and Dr. Khalid got together. We connected. We talked. You understand? You ask how many people actually followed up and talked and followed through after all this talking that we do on these, all this texting that we do in these comments that we make, right? We called each other, we talked, and we put some things in place, right? And to me,
you say follow up and follow through is
follow up and follow through. So that's the solution, right? Follow up and follow through. You see somebody on here that speaks to your heart, right? That's doing something. Get with them, follow up with them, follow through. And again, I put it quite simply. I went to his website. I text my information in. He responded because he's an OG like me. He knows how to get it. He said, okay, Hotep, you want to connect? Let's do that. We talked the next day. No, we don't have to set a Zoom calendar and next week sometime because next week you're going to get busy too. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Nah. You serious about the work? Let's go. We're going to talk now. You on vacation? A lot of people want to sit around talking. This is excuses, right? Oh, I'm on vacation now. I'm with the family. Okay, but then when you're not on vacation, what are you doing? You working. You always busy. So come on. If you're serious about it, so our point is, it's simple. I reached out. He reached back. We got on the phone. Is he with family? Absolutely. Am I with family? Absolutely. But we got work to do. We have a sense of purpose that can never be, turned off. So we set some dates. We put some things in place, and then we have momentum. And to me, it's just that simple. So, when we talk, I don't know, what the problem is.
With you, Hotep,
I know you are.
I did. Listen, Jahar, we don't have to set those Zoom. Let's get on this phone and talk. She'll tell you in the inbox. She made a comment in the chat. Hey, call me. Let's talk about it. Let's get a plan together, right? And then same thing with Dr. Heflin. So I'm with you.
And I'm gonna give you another example. If I may, this is the pontification that gets under my nerve. It gets under my skin. We're quick to say, oh yeah, we should connect. Well, yeah, we should connect. Well, what's we going? We're good to say stuff like that. Yeah, we should connect. Yeah, we should. What time? What's the date? You said, what's the action item? But we like to let things go with, hey, we should connect. And then we let it go and we never connect for another year until we see each other next year at the BER conference. That's what happens. You understand what I'm saying? So again, it's the follow up and the follow through, taking immediate and decisive action with intention. I'll do it again. Well, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to put in my number right here. Here we go. Hotep. Here we go. I'm going to put my cell number here so you ain't got to say you had to talk to the office manager. I hope this goes to everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put my email address in here, right here. If somebody wants to get busy and do some work, you understand? Especially when it comes to early childhood. And that's Dr. Chester. Okay. I ain't going to say nothing. It ain't nothing but you can do it right now while we're talking. All right. But hold on.
It's a different number.
Okay. All right.
So you have a different line. You have the line.
Here we go. Blackline and Cubs.com. Here it is. Everything right there. Did it go through? It didn't even go through, Dr. Chester. It's blocked.
Chat like you did last night.
I'm gonna do that. Here we go. I'm gonna do it. But again, it's just that simple. So if there's anybody, if I speak and you and what I say or what I'm doing, connects and resonates with you, or you feel a way that we can synergize and do something, my information, Dr. Chester, I just put in there. You share it with the group and reach out. Now the question is, how many people are actually going to do it? You see, how many people?
The number of averages, we know that's always the case. That's unfortunately that's everything. That's part of it, the law of averages. But like you said, what you did say that I caught was that hey, all the excuses. Let's just do away with the excuses and let's just do the work. We'll figure it all out in the Bible. Let's at least get to it. Let's put out the plow and let's make some stuff happen. Now we should connect, but let's do it. And I completely concur with you. I think a lot of times, again, we get caught up in a lot of platonic stuff and niceties. But I like you answered the question without answering it. You said it's a lack of. But again, you also talked about solutions. So with that being said, if that's the problem, guys, how do we move you forward into doing and not just saying? So
can I just say one last thing? Because it's going to be, people like the quotable. So I'm going to put it that way, in a nice quotable for people, right? The challenges we face in our lives, and particularly in our schools, when I work with my school principals, it's not a lack of information. It's a lack of implementation. You understand? And so what we do, our problem is we believe knowledge is power. So we inundate ourselves with information. We get on Zooms and we listen. We read a podcast. I'm going to tell you right now, you guys already have the information that you need. You don't need no more information. What you need is implementation. I'll say it again. You don't need any more. Stop reading the book. You read enough books. You've been to enough conferences. You've listened to enough Zooms or heard enough experts. But go to BER. Go to BER. Again, we have the information. Our challenge is the lack of implementation. So that's where I'm at. That's why you always, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be so disruptive, but that's what I'm attempting to do, is move people to the space of implementation. Here is a number, here is an email address, here is a website. Implement that which you know and what we're talking about right now with action.
Well, before that, though, again, that's a perfect segue into, and I'm going to bring Dr. Principal Presley and Dr. Strayhorn in this, but you have to know your purpose. Like, a lot of people don't know their purpose, and so they may not move because they're not sure why or what they're supposed to be doing. Why am I supposed to be doing it? What am I supposed to do? And so I think that is my ultimate.
Let me address that. I'm not going to let that be an excuse for anybody. I ain't going to let that, because you know what? If you don't know, that's okay. Find someone. Find a guide, a wazir, a teacher, a leader, a mentor. Identify someone that's walking in their purpose and say, you know what? Let me submit to your will. Let me work for you. Let me contribute to what you're doing. Let me be a part of your movement. You understand? That's what you do if you're not in that, in that space. And it's okay. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how educated. Find someone.
You said find someone. I'm going to accept that one because that's a great one. Yes, find a mentor. And so, someone that, but you said the key part was someone that you see walking in their purpose. But you see them walking in their purpose. And how do you know they're walking in their purpose, guys? Because they're relentless about the work, right? They're relentless they don't take excuses. They don't make excuses. They don't take excuses. They keep moving regardless of what is and what is not. And so thank you for that. Dr. Strayhorn, coming to you next. Talk to me about purpose and how do we get us to move at a greater collective towards implementation action?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was answering on mute the question you posed, which was rhetorical, but it's a great segue into building upon the conversation, right? And that is, you asked, how do you know that someone's walking in their purpose? And echoing the sentiments of everybody, even our colleague who's left, I was saying, because they're building something. There's something being built. I don't know what it doesn't look the same. It may not look the way Principal Presley's project in the world looks, or that Hotep's project, Brother Hotep's project looks in the world, or your project, Dr. Chester. But I think the question that I'm excited about that this has led us to is, for everyone who's listening, everyone who will watch, everybody who's working with someone, is the question we got to ask ourselves is, what are we building? What's my project in the world? And you do, once you land upon it, you discover it, you do pursue it relentlessly with energy, renewed energy, a freshness, grit, and a tenacity that is just natural and unique to your own. But purpose is not found. That's what I used to say about my work in belonging. People always say, I'm trying to find a sense of belonging. You don't find purpose. Purpose is created. And we create it in the way and through the intentionality that all of us are talking about, through the decisions that we make, the choices that we make. To echo the sentiments of Brother Hotep, the relationships, the collaborations, and the partnerships that we intentionally build. It's when we pick the phone, take the phone number, and then dial the digits or tell Siri to do it and call the person, or we write the email, or we go to Black Educators Rock and we stay after the session to speak to the presenter so we can then build a collaboration. I think just for whatever reason, it's in my mind right now that part of the answer to that is when you say a person who's on purpose is a person who's building something, and you can see that, and there's excitement, there's freshness to it. It is something that is built. If it doesn't build, it's not purpose. That's to quote, that's the quotable for me, that if it doesn't build, it's not purpose. That purpose is not it's not a t-shirt. It's not a logo. Purpose is a project. And it actually is bigger than just a statement or a byline or your resume or CV. That purpose becomes the compass, your compass for the world. It's what can turn chaos into clarity. Why? Because now when you go through problems, the setback, the layoff, the unemployment, the kid before you get married, whatever the situation is, purpose anchors all of that chaos into some sort of providence that now gives you clarity to say that I may not have it yet, but doesn't mean I'm not going to get it. Doesn't mean I'm not there today, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to get there ever. That this, as Principal Presley, I think, was the one who earlier said that this setback is a setup for a comeback. But you can't really get that. You cannot see that like glasses. You can't see it without understanding purpose. So it's not found. It's really creative. And in that, I'll close by saying, I think in that way, purpose becomes very radical because you think about it, it asks you to live with intentionality and direction in a world that is empty of that. That it asks you to wake up every day with intentionality and purpose, that I know what to do in a world that specializes in being bored, specializes in scrolling through the lives of other people while you're wasting so much time in your own. But purpose gives you promise to work on your project. It's a lot of P words. And now, but it's not, but everything that we think about is not necessarily purpose, right? Purpose asks us to stand up and get up every day centered on what really matters. It tells us to focus on our promise. It tells us to prioritize legacy over likes on social media. It asks us to try to see beyond ourselves, to lift as we climb, to turn away this worldly way of unfettered competition. And, that's why I'm going to stop on this point. I'm off social media for a few weeks because as a professor, my purpose is to profess. As a man of faith and a preacher in my church, my job is to preach. As a writer, my job and my purpose is to write. But if I'm not careful, the currents of this world will push me to social media. And before you know it, I will be competing with others, thinking that my posts don't have as many likes as theirs. I got to write a book so I can put it out there and someone can consume it. I had to tell myself, no, stay in your lane. Habari, Ghana, Nia, purpose. I'll stop there. What project are you working on?
Yes, Principal Presley.
That's good. That's good stuff. Both Brother Hotep and Dr. Strayhorn said some great things. I want to just build on both of it. I like the action person that Brother Hotep is. I watched him the other night, and I said that topic of working together collectively, I kind of felt like that was going to be a tough topic, and it was, because we struggle. But I'll say this. We know that we're walking in purpose when folk try to weaken our hands in building, but we keep on building. We know that we're in purpose when they cannot weaken our hands in building, so then they try to frustrate our purpose, but we keep building. We know that we're in purpose when the sabotagers come, those from within and those from without, but we keep on building. We know we're in purpose when we decide that we will not come off the wall in building. We will look at the frustrators. We will look at those that are trying to weaken our hands. We will look at those that are trying to sabotage what we're building, and we keep on building. And somewhere along the line, we learn that not everyone is assigned to build with us.
Yes.
When we get to that place, no matter how wonderful and how expressive they are, when we get to the place where we can discern that this is an individual, organization, or whatever, no matter what they're offering or bringing to the table, when that thing inside of us resonates that this is not a person that we should attach ourselves to in building, we know we're in purpose then, because there is such a focus in purpose that it cannot and will not allow us to connect ourselves with anything that does not come with the right spirit, the right attitude, and the right mindset, because you will stop building and start repairing. And there's a difference.
Yes.
So I've learned over these years to be very confident in my building, to the degree that no matter what is thrown in my direction, that I know where this building project, as Dr. Strayhorn said, has to go, and I know what it's going to take, and I will not allow myself to prostitute my purpose by allowing somebody or something to attach itself to my building that's only going to be a setback. So purpose, walking in purpose, you'll know when you're there, when we're able to defend purpose and unapologetically offend it, no matter who has to be left behind.
Yes, 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 yes. And so, to your point, when it comes to purpose, knowing one's purpose, and we said when you know your purpose is when you're building. And with Black Educators Rock, I've had the privilege of helping 3 different organizations put on their conferences, their national conferences. And people would always be like, "Well, why are you helping them? You're doing it for free. You're giving them the speakers and the presenters." But I know that was about building more spaces for us to coalesce and come together to answer problems about education. I didn't do it for money. It was about building. It was about building spaces and places for fellow educators, fellow scholars, fellow academicians, so that we can continue to do this work and challenge what we know is the trick of the devil about our children. Because as I always have to say, we're confused as to why we're still where we are when it comes to educating our Black children, or we've declined when from the onset of education. One, the purpose of education has never been about creativity and ingenuity, or any of those things. It has always been to create employees, to create a workforce. And that workforce is always that group where we're talking about is 85%, 80 to 85% white females in that profession. That's what it's been, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people talk about raising, and this is kind of off, but it's not raising teacher salary. And I have to always remind people, you know why they don't raise teacher salary? People are like, no, why? Teaching is so important. Because most white women are not the breadwinners in their homes. Their salaries are secondary salaries to their home fronts most times. And so the small percentage of us that teach, less than 2% for the Black male, and then the percentage that it is for African American women, most of us may be the breadwinners in those homes. And so it matters to us for that money, right? But if our purpose is truly teaching, if it is truly educating our people, educating our youth, God will make a way for you. Yes. There are so many other ways for there to be, for you to monetize your talents and your skill sets and your gifts. And so always know that, right? Because it does, like I said, when purpose, sometimes like you said, it gets distracted and it gets attacked and it gets challenged. And so that's how you do know that you're in your purpose. And for some of us, if we know this is not our purpose, it's okay to walk away. It is okay. It's better to not be there and be bringing more damage than to be there, right? Because again, what most people don't realize is the reason that we started the Rock Conference, Dr. Strayhorn, was because the Facebook group came first. My former student, Roosevelt Kaiser, was like, we're going to start a Facebook group. Each of us is going to invite 20 of our educator friends, and they're going to invite 20 of their educator friends. And we grew to 1,000 people overnight. And in 90 days, we had 100,000 people organically. No, like you said, no liking, no shit. It was literally just, I'm getting in and I'm inviting my 20, and you invite your 20. And what I noticed over that first year, Hotel, was that now this is a Black Educators Rock. This is a group for Black people teaching Black people. And the sentiments around our Black children was extremely negative. So much so that as it got closer to the time to go back to school after the summer, it was like people were saying stuff like, oh, it's time to go report back to prison. It's time to go back to hell. And it was all of this negative connotation around teaching our children. And there were always like just these denigrating posts about our kids. And so we made the decision, executive decision to, okay, so now we can allow people to post freely. Now we have to monitor posts, because anything that is not solution oriented, what you won't come here and do is talk about Black children. You won't talk about Black parents. You won't talk about your fellow educators without solutions, without it being truly about bettering, because that's not what we were seeing. And that is why we actually implemented the Rock Conference, to encourage them, inspire, and empower. And empower has we, all caps on purpose in that. So it's encourage, inspire, empower. That is our mantra for Black Educators Rock, because that was our goal, to continue to do that for our fellow educators. And so understand that, again, when it is purpose, a lot of times there are distractions, there are blocks, there are there are people who will be on the walk with you in the beginning that won't be with you, at the end. Faces change. So those season, reason, or lifetime. We know that everyone is not a lifetime participant in it, but if you are truly doing this work, you must do what's right by that purpose to defend it. And so thank you guys for that comment, those comments. Did one of you want to say something before we move on? Emmanuel texted. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. If he wanted me to say anything to you all, he just said, thank you guys for the knowledge, for the imparting of the knowledge. And it really was, he said it really was a word for him, Principal Presley. And a few other people said it in the chat as well. So thank you guys so much for sharing your passion and your knowledge as it relates to purpose. And so, in the past, we were having conversations about, there is a lot of work to be done, and we each have to figure out, where we best are to serve that. And we've been talking about, there's nobody else who's more intelligent. There's nobody who's more talented. There's, any of these things. We're only simply out organized. And so as doers of the work, how do we begin to be, and we're going to start with just education first, because most of us are in that space of education. How do we become a larger impact? As Principal Presley said earlier, it is about expanding and enlarging those things. How do we do that? How do we do that on a larger scale as educators, those that are in the work of educating our children? So I'll start with you, Dr. Strayhorn.
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? How do we evolve, enlarge, and expand our territory, as it were? So I guess I'll build on something I said earlier, and that is, if purpose is about building, then one question we ask is, what project am I building and working on? Remember, we're not asking you what class are you teaching. We're not asking you what degree are you seeking. We're not asking you what job do you have today. That's not purpose. That's a part of the purpose. That's a way you can sort of enact one's purpose, but purpose is much larger than that. I think the other question that really gets to the kind of collective impact and expanding one's territory spins on the answer to the question of, who am I building with? And who's building with me? I always ask my doctoral students when training them, once they figure out what their dissertation's about, I tell them, you now have to learn the community who's studying this with you. They will ultimately become the references in your chapter 2. And your work will sit up beside theirs, maybe even beyond theirs. I don't know the magnitude of the work, but who's doing this work with me? And this really builds on the idea of purpose not being about competition, but it really being about collaboration. And several folks have alluded to this, but who are you attaching to your building? Who's in the parking lot of that space, that same zip code with you, doing this kind of work? And building on the spirit of what I took from Brother Hotep's comment earlier is, you have to appreciate the fact that you're not going to build the whole project by yourself. You can't. The project, I hope, is too big for that. Purpose without community isn't purpose at all. It's ego. Unfettered, unfiltered, with unbridled, and there is no place for that in true nation building, purpose building kind of work. So the question has to become, who building with me, who's working on similar kinds of projects that can expand my thinking about it. I've done a lot of work, a lot of research on sense of belonging, but I have not done all the research on sense of belonging. And my work on belonging, is not just, you don't build belonging in a journal article or in a book. The book and the journal articles become a way of memorializing the work and getting it out to people, but you build it in the way that I think Brother Hotep's talking about. It's got to get that information in the hands of principals and teachers and superintendents and professors and college administrators and parents and policymakers, who then implement that information in practice and use it to design more equity-minded policies that put fresh food in neighborhoods so that kids can eat, because it's hard to do well in school when you're hungry. That can make sure that students have access to the materials they need, teachers have access to the materials they need to teach. All of these things that I'm doing in my research has to be put into practice. But what I've learned is everyone's busy. We've all talked about that too, right? Especially this time of year, people have very little bandwidth to read a book, an art journal article, a blog. So I've had to specialize in how do you get scientific principles from a multi-year project that was published in a 30-page paper down to a 90-second soundbite or a video or a 60-minute professional development, and sometimes into a curriculum that a teacher can use for 30 minutes in a classroom. I am not a curriculum specialist, but I can build with curriculum specialists who think about the world and whose purpose aligns with mine. So it is all about community. It is about trying to figure out who are those partners on purpose that you then position yourself to connect with, that you learn from. You don't walk in the room like you know it all, but you got something to give and they have something to give. And together, that's where the real magic happens. I think I've also learned that because of that, purpose is not just in community, it's also sort of ever evolving, ever growing. I'm always changing. The work is always changing. The project requires me to change and upskill and uptool and any given. So purpose is not a destination. It's not a place I'm going to get to and say, okay, finally I got here. I can, rest on my laurels. No, it's something that I'm constantly pursuing. It constantly calls me to get better and better. That's why I must be in community with people who can make me better, who can challenge me. I don't want to surround myself with people who say, oh yeah, you got it, keep doing it, who can't say no to me, but who can disrupt my complacency, who can push me to reimagine new possibilities, who can push me to be fresh about my thinking, my reading, my writing, who can present me new challenges or new problems that I've not encountered before. So I think that helps me, just sort of double down on the point that purpose is not about position. It's not about something I do in isolation. It really is something. So therefore, it's to do it, you got to build bridges, the kind of bridges we're talking about, these partnerships. And it's not just with individuals. I'm also, realizing the importance of building bridges with communities, with
Yes.
districts, with schools, with entire, cities. And you can't do that. So that also then pushes you to understand that purpose is not about doing the same thing you've always done. You're going to have to go into rooms you've never been, that your purpose will lead you there. And that when you get there, you'll be prepared for it, but you'll start talking to people and having to, we say code switch, whatever it might be, using different language and different words to connect with different people, all in pursuit of building bridges, not walls, that can help you create partnerships for the movement of your purpose. And then I think lastly, I realized that when I do think about purpose, it also requires me to have power. And I'm particularly reflective about purpose and power at the end of the year because we're about to go into a new year. And a lot of people lose power by the end of the year. So purpose requires power. It requires a plan. As in Christian scripture, there says, write the vision, make it plain. I said at a church a few weeks ago, the problem with a lot of people is not that they don't have a vision, they just don't know how to write. They don't write it down. So you forget it. When the currents of life and the chaos of life comes, it blows you from left to right. And before you forgot you're headed for something. You forgot the project. You got to remember that the project, the purpose requires some power. So that means you got to surround yourself with powerful people. People who don't tear you down, people who don't throw water on your motivations, people who don't say, oh, that's too big, you're not big enough, that's not going to happen, but people who can help and build the flames of your fire, who can encourage and cultivate even more, and that they bring their own light and their fire to the purpose of the project. So for me, that's really practical, because when I start thinking about partners, I often ask them, when was the last time, tell me what you're working on. What are you most excited about? Whose life has been changed or impacted because of the work you're doing? If you struggle with those questions, you're not lined up to be a good partner for me at this point. I can't put fire in everybody, because I'll burn out.
Ooh,
I got to surround myself with some people who come with some fire. Yeah, part of my purpose is about igniting fire in other people. Because I'm clear on that, that means I can't be around people who just take. Purpose is not about what you will gain. It is also about what you will give. I'll stop there.
yes, and there's so much to unpack there. I'm coming to you next, Principal Presley. But some of that, it just makes me reflect, like you said, who are you in partnership with? Who are you in collaboration with? And you should not be the one that's always just giving, and you're being taken from. And so, if you're in your right purpose, if you will know it, because you're expanding, you're enlarging, you're impacting. Those things are happening. And so, Principal Presley, that same question.
I think we have to also know the seasons and the times that we're in our purpose. I remember the first 3 years of taking over this new school. I absolutely despised the name of the school. I could not take that name. It was driving me bananas. It was so negative. I felt like I was one step away from the penitentiary. And so I started trying to figure out, how can I shift the name of this school? And it came to me through great prayer and supplication that when you're building and you're trying to name what you're building, it's important that we brand and then name what we've branded, instead of naming it and then trying to build to what we named. So for 3 years, I started building. I wasn't running my mouth. I was getting busy. Like Brother Hotep said, I was just getting busy. It was 3 years in the trenches. I was laying foundation, and I gave myself a break, because sometimes in purpose, we have to give ourselves a break. And this is what I mean. I gave myself a break, and I removed the pressure of always having the answers. I discovered that I don't have to have all the answers. I just needed to know the right question to ask. So I started leading through building, shutting my mouth, closing my trap, and just build. I built for 3 years, and then we had a defining moment. And that's what I mean by know your season and your time. A defining moment happened to the school. After 3 years of just building, and our intent and our purpose was to just build up these students who were broken. And so we created a system to recognize and celebrate students weekly. So for the past 10 years, I've been celebrating and recognizing students every week for the past 10 years, leading the celebrations, thinking outside of the box, closing my mouth and just working. So we got a phone call that a group of administrators heard about this little school in Sumter County and wanted to come over and visit. They were coming from the Netherlands. They flew over the pond on Valentine's Day in 15 to see what we were building. And when they visited the school, it seemed as though their visit launched us into another season. So we had to take what we were building in 3 years, where are we at now? We can rename and rebrand the school. We can expand this vision. We can continue to build where we need to build. And I wasn't apologetic about spending 6 years of just building climate and culture and touching academics every now and then, because we knew there's no sense in trying to go high into academics when we didn't even have the kids in a position where they knew how to walk into a classroom and sit down and wait for instruction. So we were building intentionally and giving ourselves credit along the way. And I'm going to stop at this point. give yourself credit. Just take a moment and just give yourself credit for what you're building. Don't be so quick to move on to the next thing without celebrating you. Because there are leaders who are burning themselves out. Like my brother just said, you're so busy giving out fire, you got no fire for yourself. Take a moment and appreciate what you're building. Look back at it and you say, you know what? It's coming along, and give yourself credit for it. Because I'm sorry, but in this world of education, we're not going to get that phone call saying great job, attaboy, attagirl all the time. It's not coming. So we have to learn how to give ourselves credit, not to be self-aggrandizing or being arrogant, but sometimes we can be so humble that we don't even exist anymore. You can lose yourself in humility. Give yourself credit. Have something where you say something to yourself every day if need be, to remind yourself and to build yourself up. Because when you're building, you're putting out, you're giving. And you get to a place, and if you're in leadership and educational leadership, where you can't even go and use the restroom without somebody saying your name, because they want to ask you a question and they want this and they need that and they want this answer, they want that answer. And you just want to go on the place and hide. So I've learned to stop, to sit my little self down and give myself credit.
I love that. You know what? And Jahari, that was a perfect culmination of that. He says that is huge. Documenting, reflecting, and appreciating our impact is something that we don't stop to do. Right? That is like you said, give yourself kudos and write it down, make it plain, document what you're doing. That is sometimes a lot of us do the work, and we are not, like you're saying, self-acknowledging, giving ourselves those credits. Yes, and that was something that I had wanted to say earlier too about purpose, is that you got to be positively affirming toward oneself. Affirmations, what are you speaking daily? What are you saying as it relates to purpose? What are you saying? You have to be speaking certain things. Be cognizant of what you're putting into the atmosphere, right?
Absolutely.
It most certainly matters. Principal Presley, Central Hicks said he so needed to hear this. Principal Presley, wow, because a lot of times what's happening is I think that's the reason, Principal Presley, you spoke to a big thing. That's the reason that we're losing some people who it may be their purpose to be in that classroom or in that school or in that district, but they're so burned out because they are not taking the time to smell the roses. They are not taking time, as Jahari said, to not only just, reflect on what they've done, but document it, acknowledge it by documenting it. Give yourself credit for what you're doing, right? And as Marcus K. Jr. said the other night, taking some time for you. We talked about pouring from empty cups. You cannot continue to pour from empty and half full cups and serve at your best. So it is not selfish to take care. Self-care is not selfish, it's selfless, right? Because like I said, in Yala Banzon, I remember she was on Oprah, and that was something that hit me hard, Hotep. She said it is disrespectful to serve others from a half empty cup.
Wow.
And we don't do that. We serve on E. We're serving on almost nothing. Then we deplete ourselves. And then what happens is we leave, right? We detach from everything and everyone, and we put ourselves on these islands, and we go into silos. And then we burn out.
Yes, ma'am.
It's extinguished. Our candle is extinguished. And so we must make sure to work on that. So yes, yourself praise.
If you know, Dr. Presley, man, you speaking gems and jewels, man, and I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys tonight for speaking in life into people. I'm going to attempt to make things a little simple. To help and actionable for people, because that's one of my areas of specialty. I'm a pragmatist, and so when I speak, sometimes the simplicity goes over people's heads because it's like, no, it can't be that simple, but it is. right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a few things that I wanted to say. Number one, the formula for all of you principals, in particular in school leaders, is ultimately, for when it comes to climate and culture, creating a climate of celebration and a culture of accountability. I'm going to say that again. The formula is for success in the organization, creating a climate of celebration and a culture of accountability. That's what you're hearing. Now, that sounds simple, and I'm simplifying it, but I'm going to make it even easier for you guys, because the treating yourself well, the affirmations, the celebrations and things, sometimes we forget to do these things, right? So the way you overcome that challenge is by building these practices and procedures into your daily rituals and routines.
Right.
Okay. And again, this is how it's done. Very simply. You don't have to remember to do SEL. You don't have to remember to do PBIS. You don't have to remember affirmations. You don't have to remember to do celebrations. What you do is you build these best practices into your daily rituals and routines. Then you scale them, right? And so I just wanted to share that for you guys as educators in particular. When it came to the comment and the question that you asked, Dr. Chester, what do we do? I like the comment of blocking people. I like that. I block people all the time. You understand? People don't like me when I come around because I'm quick to block person, because to your point, I'm diligent about protecting my peace. You understand? Like, I am diligent about protecting my peace. I don't have none of that foolishness around me. You understand? And that's part of the accountability part of it. So, another way of looking at it is get the squares out your circle. You understand? Get the squares out, and don't feel guilty. This is what you have to do, is eliminate the guilt, because some of these squares that are in your circle, they friends, they family members. You understand? Let's get real talk. Let's talk about, these are people you've known for a long time. These might be people that you've attached yourself to in a relationship, a marital relationship. These are squares in your circle. The question is what you're going to do about that. The other thing is, when it comes to the other thing that a lot of us should pay attention to, especially when it comes to our schools, is not allowing negativity to be the loudest voice in the room. And I spoke about this the other day, but again, we have to be diligent about protecting our peace. And part of the way we do that is not allowing negativity to be the loudest voice in the room. All too often, especially in the schools that we serve that are in low income communities and such, what you have is a climate where people are used to blaming and complaining, and negativity and toxicity starts to fester and becomes contagious because we allow it to. That's what I want to say. We allow it to. Negativity seems to be loud, and you only have, just like in the classroom, as a classroom teacher, you have 1 or 2 students raising all hell in a classroom of 25. Well, we allow that to happen. And the reason why negativity seems to be so strong is because negativity don't care about your feelings. Negativity is brash, it's bold, it's it's arrogant and all these things. So it doesn't care about how you feel about it, because they're going to make sure you know that they are mad or angry or upset. So what we have to do, for those of us that know better, we have to do better. We have to be diligent and create a space so positive that negativity don't feel comfortable existing. And that's the challenge that we work with a lot of our school leaders around, creating an environment so positive that negativity does not feel comfortable to exist. Negativity becomes the cancer as opposed to the outlier. So that's the other thing I wanted to share real quick. Another thing is, I want to say, for those of us that are looking for solutions, let's stop following the IG and follow the OGs. All right. I'm going to say that again. Let's stop following the IG and start following the OGs. What do I mean by that? I'm very sensitive about this because I told you I'm a practitioner and a pragmatist. The truth of the matter is, let's stop all those little cutesy things, relationship goals and stuff. You don't know nothing about these people's relationship. You understand? You know the snapshot. You don't know the full picture. You understand? So stop getting caught up in these snapshots. Understand the full picture. Now, what I mean by the full picture is, you have people who have been doing the work for a long time, 10, 20, 30 years. And this is what we do. We dismiss people who've been doing the work for so long because we get caught up in the little cute trends and the little shiny trinkets.
10,000 followers.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They just pop up out of nowhere, and then we get, huh?
I said, you ain't got 10,000 followers. No, because you're busy doing the work.
Exactly. So again, we get caught up. We have to be diligent and conscious of this, though. We get caught up in these little new shiny ideas, these nice sounding initiatives and such, and we do it while dismissing people that have been around doing it forever. You understand? So let's stop following the IGs. If you want to know about relationships, it ain't the guy that wrote that book that, that's been married 5 or 6 times. You know what I'm saying? Because knowing what not to do and knowing what to do are 2 different things. If you want to know what relationship goals, talk to your grandparents that are celebrating their 50-year anniversary. That's the master. That's somebody that knows it. That's a practitioner of excellence. You understand? Stop. So again, I just wanted to share that for our colleagues. Again, just real practical things. Let's remove our ego, and we don't need to recreate the wheel. In that spirit of what I said earlier, all of us are trying. Many times I hear people coming up with these ideas and things that they're working on. Man, people been doing that forever, man. Come on. Ain't nothing new. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to be the one to start it. There again, people that are evidence-based, people that have been doing this for a long time. Be willing to get in and be a part of a winning team and push that forward. And if you're on a team and you want to be the quarterback, but they say, we don't need it. We got a quarterback. We need a running back. Well, then be able to say, as my brother said, put me in, coach. I'll play, wide receiver this time. Whatever's best for the team. That requires a removal of that ego and willingness to play in the best position or the position needed most to win the game. And that's a lesson for personal relationships as well. Remember that we're on the same team as accomplishing a goal. So sometimes you do have to compromise. Sometimes you're going to have to be the one to say, you know what, you got this, babe. I'm going to let you have that right now. And it's okay. It doesn't diminish your capacity. It doesn't diminish you as a human being to play these types of roles. So those are the few things I just wanted to say. I'm sorry for being a little fiery, but you guys know I'm passionate about this. You understand?
That's good. That's good.
That was your last words, your final comments, and those were powerful ones. And we put them in the chat and made sure to capture them all, and they have been listened. They love them, so that was great. So everybody an opportunity to give their last thoughts. But we got you. Listen, some of those you said, get the squares out of your circle. You said to climate of celebration and a culture of accountability. You said to build best practices into your rituals and routines and then scale them when you were talking about self-care and those things. And you also said, do not allow negativity to be the loudest voice in the room. You said, be so positive that negativity is uncomfortable, and stop following the IGs and start following the OGs. I think that is the best one because we have had nothing but OGs on this week. These are people who are doing the work. And I know one last one. These 2 are my top 2. Stop following the IG and follow the OGs, and be okay to be on a winning team. Stop thinking there's no I in team. So many people are starting all these, like you said, you're doing the same thing that 10 other people doing, and it's unnecessary. Let's build a team. Let's do it together. We are so much better together. As we said the other night, the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. And so I'm going to give Dr. Strayhorn and then Principal Preston, we're going to let you close us out on final thoughts and what you want to share with our listening audience before we get out of here.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So I got several t-shirts I need to get made after tonight's conversation. I think that last one, stop following the IGs and follow the OGs, is going to be one. I'm going to have to work on that one myself. Normally I order it, but I might have to figure out how to do that one myself. I really appreciate.
And when we make them all, we're going to put dash hotel.
That's right. That's right.
Academicians, we believe in intellectual property.
We are going to give some attribution.
Don't say hotel after the dash. Stop.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, again, I just want to sort of close where we began, and that is to thank you, Dr. Chester, for the vision and the commitment and the purpose of bringing together these conversations, curating these conversations that are so important, and bringing together folks who, come at this work in different ways, but what unites us is our commitment to the very principles of Kwanzaa, certainly to purpose and to Black education. And that is, oh my goodness, that's funny. People Hey, that's right. Put it in the chat. But as I think about sort of final words, you know, you just spent a few moments talking about um, purpose, and you know, if you want to go far, go alone. Well, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Purpose is about. It's not about standing out. It's about standing together. And there's strength when we stand together. And some of the very principles, very practical principles that Brother Hotep gave, I think there's wisdom in simplicity, right? Because as he was talking, I thought, man, that sounds like some of the fundamental principles of organizational change. That if you really want to create organizational change, whether you're talking about schools or businesses, you want to create a sort of climate of celebration and a system of accountability, right? And we all have those phrases like you celebrate the behavior you want repeated, right? And principals use it, and superintendents use it, and managers use it. But how often do we do that for ourselves? That we celebrate for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
the behaviors we want repeated. That when we get up and we have a productive day, do we celebrate ourselves so that we'll get up and do it again tomorrow? That when we get up and we, as Brother Hotep said, block somebody who's distracting and tearing down our energy, do we celebrate ourselves for having the courage to do that and to not look back, but to walk in purpose and to walk in peace? So these principles don't just apply to other people. I think this is a great time for us to also think about, how do I apply it to myself, my own nation building, my own purpose building? How am I celebrating myself? What does it even mean to celebrate myself? Um, and you know, it gets hard to pat yourself on the back physically, but there are other ways that we must figure out what to do it. What communicates to you and your soul that you're doing well? I'm proud of what you're doing. Keep doing that. That as we move into the new year, I think we're going to have that kind of system of accountability in place, not just for others, although that's important, but also for ourselves. That we don't build large projects like the movements we're talking about, whether we're talking about a classroom, a school, a district, a movement, overnight. Takes time, takes effort, takes energy, takes power, takes purpose. How do we have a plan? I said it earlier, you know, I think purpose without a plan is useless. I mean, it's powerless. It loses its power without it. But when we have a plan and purpose, and we've got partners in purpose, we've got these collaborations, and we're standing with other people, and we're figuring out how to collaborate, and we're doing it in a way that empowers people, not ourselves. We don't build monuments to ourselves. That's not what it's about. That's not purpose. Purpose doesn't empower. That doesn't empower people isn't purpose. It's just privilege. And privilege is problematic for purpose, because we can't root out privilege and oppression and all these dark forces with the very same sort of form of tyranny that got us here in the first place.
Right.
We've got to use, you never overthrow or dismantle the master's house with the master's tools. That's the way we say it. But what that simply means is, if we got there through unfettered selfishness, then we dismantle it through collaboration,
Yes.
cooperative work, partnership, where, listen, we don't just celebrate ourselves only. We also celebrate our brothers and sisters who are doing a good job. That we like the post that's not ours. That if we're going to engage it, that we, first of all, we read it, and then we engage it, we react to it. And it's not just about social media. We do this in the workplace, outside the workplace. I think purpose for me requires that kind of thing. I'll close with this. It's probably the hardest part for me when I think about purpose, is that a lot of purpose in my life has been born out of pain. And as a people, a traumatized people, I'm not speaking trauma over our lives. There's people who have had some traumatic experiences, whether it be at childhood and adulthood, in the workplace, outside the workplace. We are often coached and counseled. And if we're not careful, even in faith and spiritual places, we're sort of taught to run away from our pain, ignore the pain. But one of the most liberating lessons I've learned is to turn toward my pain, to draw from it whatever the power is I'm supposed to get from it. That power comes from pain. And you never get to the sort of door of your destiny without walking through the hallway of haters and the punctuation of your pain and the promise of people who will never fulfill the things they tell you. You're going to be let down. You're going to be let go. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to want to give up, throw in the towel. But if you can ever not ignore it, not turn away from it, not cover it up, don't put a band, but uncover it and ask it. As we have been asking all these powerful questions, like what project am I working on? Who am I working on it with me? What are you supposed to teach me? What was I supposed to learn? I'm going to borrow the energy from Brother Hotep. When you look at that last relationship, what was I supposed to learn from that last relationship? Love or not, right? What did I learn about myself? What I learned about my triggers, my limits, my strengths, my gifts, my tenacities, what makes me tick, what makes me turn me off, and then how do I use it with that same intentionality and direction towards so you put it back toward the building of the project. And a project's not like your sixth grade science project. It's not something simple you can get done overnight. I'm talking about the larger life project that'll take you from, as my grandma would say, from this life to next, that journey and that sweet by and by. I think that's what tonight's conversation means to me. So I close where I began. Habari Ghana, Nia, purpose to each and every one of you.
And last but not least, Principal Presley.
There's really nothing else left to say but two things. Number one, you see this? Come to the Rock Conference in Houston in July 17th through the 20th, Houston, Texas. And reach out to Dr. Chester before July. There are speakers, there are individuals that have been rocking with BER and committed to helping others get to their next place in purpose. And we're not here to get rich. We're here to leave purpose. So reach out to Dr. Chester and others. And I said two, but I just felt the third one in my spirit that I'm going to say. Pray for Dr. Chester. Dr. Chester is perhaps the busiest person that I know, and I like to think that I gets it in without having to say that. But I want us to pray in our times of prayer for her, because what she's endeavoring to do and have been doing over these past 10 years, including this weekly celebration of Kwanzaa, is empowering. It's inspiring. It's building folk up that she perhaps will never meet. And I like to think that I have a lens and to see and to pick things up. And I want us to pray for her energy, that tomorrow when she opens her eyes, that the energy that is needed to take it to the next level will be there. So we lift her up, if I may, Dr. Chester, we lift you up tonight, that the principles that we've been speaking of over the past 5 days will be your portion, that the strength that you need to take everything you're trying to do to the next level is already done. And as we dawn on the cusp of a new year, you and everything connected to you is going to win and win big. That's all I got.
I didn't expect that, but thank you, because of what my closing was just going to be what you were talking about. Y'all, this is your village. This is what we desire to be. My purpose is to be the village for educators, for those teaching Black children, for Black educators and those teaching Black children, because we cannot do it by ourselves. And I don't do it by myself. He mentioned I have to give shouts out to people like Principal Kafele, Principal Presley, Dr. Strayhorn, Dr. Marcus Jackson, Sean Hurt, Dr. Chika Akua, Robert Jackson. There are the Principal Thomas L. I forgot how he's El Salome, Dr. Khalid, El Hakim, Hotel. There are tons of others. Guys, these are people who go across the country speaking. And the only conference that they don't ask for compensation is mine, because I try to keep the registration low. I put all of the money back into the conference. So you eat well. You have charter bus tours to Black-owned spots, restaurants, nightclubs, and jazz spots. And so I don't make any money from the conference. I don't take a salary. I have not in 10 years. And so most people don't realize that about me, and about the Black Educators Rock Organization or the Rock Conference, because our name is kind of, it's controversial. And so people do shy away from sponsoring us the way they may sponsor some other conferences, because it is the Black Educators Rock Conference. And so when they see that Black educators, a lot of people shy away from it. And so it's people like the ones that I named, and there are many others who have come in the past free of charge.
Speaker Houston.
Tommy Mabry.
Speaker Houston.
Um, who else is
Dr.
there?
Houston.
Yeah, Dr. Houston, but
Tammy Langley.
Speakers. Like, no, she's a newer one who has come on with us. But there have been people that have been there year after year after year after year and has never asked me for a dime. Principal Kafela has gone so far as to donate on top of coming and participating in the Rock Conference. And so there are so many people that, hold me up, and I truly, truly appreciate you all, because I could not do it without you. And thank you for those prayers, because they are certainly needed. God knows my heart as it relates to Black Educators Rock, what I want to do with it, how I want us to collaborate with other organizations like Off School Grounds Coalition, Black Male Educators Convening, NABC, and whoever else, those Black educator organizations. And why can't we be a huge collective making a larger impact? And so thank you for those prayers. They are certainly needed and received. And guys, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. And so tomorrow night, Principal Kafele and I will be back with 4 more powerhouses for day 6. We have 2 more days, day 6 and day 7, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And so we look forward to it. Again, like I always say, guys, I love it when Black men lead. Thank you all for your leadership. Thank you for your support of our communities and families. And know that it does not go out unnoticed. And we celebrate you. I celebrate you. So thank you all, and enjoy the rest of this night. Habari Gani.